Hey everyone. Okay, Pavitra is here as well. Hi Pavitra.
Hi, what's up?
Good, good, good. How are you doing?
I'm doing great.
Okay, so actually this is one of the sessions where we've had a lot of registrations. So everyone's eye is going to be on you, Pavitra. I hope you're
Yeah,
okay with that.
yeah, I'm nervous, but it's okay. We'll see.
Okay. All right, great. So I think we should not waste any more time and we should, sort of begin with the session. On a request, I think there have been a lot of students, specifically who've been interested in getting into product management, who've also been considering the product management bootcamp that Masters Union has been offering. But the question that everyone asks is, like, how is the program actually helpful? Whether the learnings or, the quality of the training or the masters themselves, does it actually allow you to get a transition into product roles? Okay, now based on this request, we've actually got one of our students from the cohort 3 of the product management bootcamp who's recently cracked a role with Zomato. Okay, and I think this is a huge one. In fact, even in the campus, once it happened, once we got the news from the team, everyone was really excited. And I think you should have received a couple of gifts, for
Yeah.
celebration as well from our end. Okay,
Yes, I.
nonetheless, so the session today is where we are going to allow you guys to actually get to interact with Pavitra himself. And, you guys can feel free to ask him any questions related to how his transition has been, or how it is like being a product manager, or also certain skill sets that, would be required for one to get into or crack into a product manager role. Okay, now if we talk about Pavitra firstly, so he's coming from a diverse experience, and I actually have watched your videos on YouTube as well before. I think that was when you were with Scoop Up, originally,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
Okay, and after that you moved into Oyo as well. You
Mm.
worked, as a program manager in the CTO office. Post that, you also were in content with Iplix, and then finally now you've moved into Zomato as a fully fledged product manager. Correct. And so, yes, Pavitra is here with us. And if you guys have any specific questions you'd like to, have him answered, you can start sharing them on the Q&A section. Towards the end, we'll be looking at those questions as well. And in case you guys have any questions related to the product management program that Masters Union is offering, I can sort of help answer that as well. Now, in the meanwhile, if I introduce myself as well, I am Shahrose and I head the academic partnerships for Masters Union. And today we are going to sort of, look deep into Pavitra's profile, his journey, his experience, and also understand from his point of view that, what allowed him to actually take a transition, and a very successful one, rather, I would say. Okay, so let's not waste any more time, and let's let Pavitra do the talking now. Okay. So I think, Pavitra, let's begin with a quick, brief introduction of yourself, where I would like you to actually take us through your background, your experience, and, sort of also what you've been doing, in the past, and how that now allowed you to also get into product management. Okay. So over to you.
Yeah, so I'll go ahead. Thank you, Shahruz, for such a beautiful introduction, first of all. And so, yeah, I am Pavitra, and I by if you look at what I've studied, I'm actually a computer science graduate. And I think I was doing my computer science at a time when the startup culture was booming. So the reason why I actually took BTech in computer science was to actually disrupt the whole industry and be one of the biggest founders that have ever existed in this country. So I did my engineering there, and so when I was doing my engineering, I was pretty much interested in learning the whole picture of it. But since I was doing computer science, I was mostly coding and there. So then I applied to Scoop for an internship in UI and UX because I had an idea in my head that I really wanted to build on. So I thought, okay, that'll be a good journey to start with. So I applied there. I got an internship. I worked there for 3 months, and after I worked there for 3 months, I think I really loved what they were doing, and I think content creation also feels nice to do. It's like an exciting thing to do as well. So I did my internship in UI UX there, and when I was graduating, so I texted the CEO of Scoop at that time that, hey, I want to be doing what you're doing, and I think I really love what you guys are building, and I kind of want to build with you. So I think I was their first hire, and like in the product department, I was the only APM there. and I was directly working with Satvik, who was then the CEO of Scoop Food. And I spent around three and a half years there. I created a lot of content with them. I actually built a lot of content-based apps with them also, and a couple of them were actually the extensions of, the YouTube channels that we were building. So built a lot of apps there, had a lot of fun there, and then I left for Oyo. And the reason why I actually left Scoop Whoop was because I really wanted to get a structure of the whole product journey that is there, and not just the product journey, but I think I wanted to give my own life a little bit of structure, because in the 3.5 years that I actually spent there, uh, we were doing, as Indians love to call, we were doing a lot of jugards there. Okay,
Mhm.
and I thought, okay, Pavitra, you learned the jugaad way. You need to learn the structured way too. So I joined Oyo, spent a year there working in the CTO office, led a lot of CTO office programs for them, and then I left Oyo for another company called iPlex, where I was the business head and I was leading a vertical which used to solve social media for brands. And during, if you look at the whole thing, that I've been in tech, I've been in product a little bit, I've been in content, I've been in sales also. And I think after actually trying out everything, I think I've written it down in my portfolio as well, which is that product is where the heart lies. I think I've discovered that this is something that I enjoy doing the most. When I go back home, I think this is something that I think the most about. And that's why I joined the course. I was doing the course with MU for the last 6 months, and I enjoyed like every single second of it. And yeah, here I am now. I'm placed at Zomato, and I think yeah, I'm happy where I am right now.
Okay. So quite interesting. And I think how Scoop Whoop also is, it has that twist in it, like you mentioned
Right.
about art. So I think even from a content point of view, I think they're also, it's always giving you very news about things that are very happening. And it's good that you've also, got an experience in relevant areas, like you mentioned about UI UX, which I think even for a product manager is a good skill to have.
Yeah, very important.
And I think putting it together eventually, now you've already gotten into a fully fledged product role.
Yeah.
So I'm sure there's a lot of experience also that has allowed you to make that transition much more easily. Okay, but great. I think that's a very interesting journey. And I did see that, even in your profile, you've been involved in a lot of, volunteering work as well. Like
Right.
you've organized blood donation camps. So
Mhm.
according to you, how much of you as an individual, how much do you feel that empathy is important for a product manager? Wanting to solve problems, wanting to make lives easier for people.
I think it's probably one of the most important things that is needed in a product manager. Okay, and when you're making a product or something, you're not making it for yourself. You're making it for the people. And in the course, you've heard this term like 1,000 times, which is you have to be customer obsessed. You have to be obsessed with them. You have to know them as much as you want. And I think it's empathy that lets you understand them in a way like you've never thought of. Okay, so I think empathy is one of the most important things, and I think I live in actually a trust that helps people do a lot of things. Because I actually live in that place, so I think that has been one thing that I've always kind of had. I'm not boasting or anything here, but I think I've always been involved with a lot of people. I've always been involved with some sort of upliftment to the people who are in need, and helping them get more education, organizing blood camps for people who are suffering from some sort of disease and stuff like that. So I think empathy helps you understand who you're building it for.
Mhm.
And yeah, I think it's one of the most important skills in a product manager, to be honest.
Okay, so would you say that what excites you about building products is actually problem solving and wanting to try to actually help people and make their lives easier?
Yes, I think absolutely. I think I love talking to people. I love understanding the problems they're facing, and I kind of love putting myself in their shoes and then building on it, building a product, building a solution that kind of makes their life easier in any way possible.
And obviously, as an individual, also you have to be very open to listen to feedbacks, whether it's positive or negative. Okay, so great. Now let's try to look into certain things that you feel that the program would have helped you out for. Now,
Mhm.
for instance, if we talk about the product management bootcamp that you were enrolled for the last 6 months or so, is there any gaps that you feel that the program helped you cover up or bridge in your journey to become a product manager?
So, I mean, before coming to this program, okay, of the perspective that I had of a product manager, that was pretty much different. Okay. And I think there were a lot of gaps that I also had. And I'll maybe give a couple of examples also. So, I mean, there are a lot of famous, like a lot of these quotes that actually get people into product management, like, PMs are the mini CEOs
Mhm.
and stuff like that. And I think a lot of people actually get motivated and inspired by all of these things. But I think where I saw the gap was that one, there is a structure, there is a process, there is a way that is also there that helps you solve things, which is one. And second is one very important gap was that as an individual, and I think being raised in an Indian society, and I think most of the people here are from India itself. I think we've been in a system where we're always asked to come to the solution first. Okay, so if I ask you anything, you would jump onto the solution straight away. But I think the beauty of product management is to actually ask more questions.
Mhm.
Ask as many questions as you can to get to the real problem that is there and then to solve it. So I think these minute things, but tens of these minute things were there in my head before that. I think these are the things that the program really helped me with.
Mhm.
And, you know, I honestly feel really confident about what I'm doing right now. I think I have a structure to it also. Tomorrow, if I have to work on something which I maybe don't have a clue about, I think I'm very confident that I'll still be able to crack it.
Okay.
And that has
So, right.
come.
I'm sure the process, the entire process, right, of being able to empathize, being able to identify and really define the problem statement. And I'm
Yeah.
sure some way or the other, learning it in a structured manner. And again, considering the fact that you were learning it from product managers themselves, and I think
Yeah.
especially in the Indian market also, the way that the market thinks here is very different, how it would be
Yeah.
otherwise. And I'm sure that, that's something that the program would have helped you towards. And if we talk about you choosing Masters Union, over any other options that were available there, before you decided, like, what were you expecting out of a program, or what were you expecting from Masters Union when you chose taking this course?
So I think I don't know, a lot of people would not know this. So there's a term called business as usual. Okay, so I think a lot of the other institutions nowadays they've actually become BAUs. Okay, but I think when I talk to people here, when I looked at the website, when I looked at the whole program, the curriculum, and the people who are going to be teaching us, I think this is a disruptor boot camp. I think this is going to open your brain in ways that you do not even think about. And that is something that actually I've seen. This happened to me, and I think that was the reason. And when I was on a call with people, and so one very important thing that also I would also like to mention was the fact that there's nothing textbook here. Okay, when we are in the classes, so when we are in the classes every weekend, we are solving case studies, we are solving real life problems. So every mentor, since they're a product manager, they're always talking to you about a problem that they faced, and this is how they solved it, and they're actually giving you a situation to solve itself. So it's nothing textbook. I think there's a simulation that goes on in every single class that we have, and I think that is something that I absolutely loved. And this is, I think, these are the few small things that actually made my decision making really easier. If I have to be very honest with you, I did not even think about going anywhere else.
Mhm. Okay,
So
so obviously, I think the fact that here you got to learn from people with experience, and
yeah,
oftentimes they would probably bring their own problems.
yeah.
You would take support of the class to solve them. I mean, I'm not sure if that happened.
Uh-huh.
I'm sure that, getting mentored from somebody who has experience in the field, that would also definitely, help you understand the domain much better.
Yeah,
Okay,
one.
and so you mentioned that nothing was textbook. Would you say that this is something that stood out for you, or is there anything else that you feel that stood out or stands out in this program? Whether it's the community events,
Uh-huh.
the challenges, anything in that front?
I mean, there were a lot of things. So yeah, one is for sure the textbook learning, because I think every weekend you spend 5 hours, 4 hours working with your peers on that. But I think at the same time, a lot of other initiatives happen that
Mhm.
because see, I think I've been an engineer. So I've been a computer science graduate, and I think most of the engineers in India, when they're doing their engineering, they're always talking to their friends about actually building something. Yeah, this is what I want to build. This is what I'll build. So in the last 4.5 months, I think I participated in two startup weekends also, where
Right.
I've actually in like 2 days with people from different backgrounds built things that I've actually been thinking about for years.
Mhm.
So and the energies flow from the mentors to me, to my peers, to the whole student experience team that is there, and building with them in 2 days. Like Startup Weekend was one of them. I think I absolutely enjoy these initiatives that were taken. And yeah,
What were your themes in the two startup weekends? I think one
so
was food tech. I'm not sure though.
no, mine was not food tech. My one was health tech. The second one
Okay.
was Web3, and I had no idea about what
Right.
Web3 is. So learning what Web3 is in 2 days and building a product in like those 48 hours, I think that journey was extraordinary. I loved it so much. And anyone who's coming in, so first of all, I'd like to tell it to people that Startup Weekend is optional. But I would honestly tell you, please don't take it as an option. Participate in this because it's amazing. I mean, I absolutely loved it.
Okay, so let me set the context for everyone else here who probably does not know what a startup weekend is. But before that, like, did you win anything? I think
I did,
that's
I did both the times.
okay. Both the times you won.
Yeah.
So
So
obviously,
I don't know. Both the times I came second. Actually, I feel bad about that. Also. I'll participate in another one also now. I have to come first once.
so we had one yesterday for, in fact, the
Yeah.
last 2 days also, which was for the PGP students, though that was on a much larger scale. But either way, it's great that you've come in second position. I think top three are the ones who get rewards and the benefits out of it.
Yeah, this time we got an internship opportunity also with the Web3 founders. So I think
Okay.
that was also fascinating there.
All right, so I'll set the context for everybody. Now, a startup weekend is basically a simulation where we give our students 48 hours and we divide them into groups. Then, as Pavitra mentioned, Web3 and health tech were the two themes that were given to them. And as a group, you basically have to create your own startup idea in 2 days. We provide you with mentors from the industry who sort of guide you in helping build your product as well as your business model. And then finally, you get an opportunity to pitch that idea to investors that we bring in. Although the cash rewards, I would say it's not as big as one would expect, but at least the objective out of this is to take you out of the classroom and give you an experience of what it's like to actually come up with your own startup idea and what it's like to pitch it to investors. Okay, so that's what the startup weekend is. And as Pavitra mentioned, you guys should not miss it out, although it's optional. But I think at MU, anything that we do outside the classroom is, I think, equally important for one to want to attend. Okay, so now let's talk about product. So if you had to advise, for people, let's say whoever are attending the session, if you had to advise them that, how getting a transition into product space is easier, what would your advice be?
I mean, can you repeat that? How easy it is to
Yeah, like what would you recommend to them in case they're looking for a transition into a product role?
First of all, if a lot of people think that product management is like really hard or something, it's actually not. I think it's a process that you learn. And if I actually have to, if you just look at a very simple structure that is there, okay, uh, market research about what the problem is. You get to the problem. You see what are the different ways to solve it. Is that even a problem or not? And then you come to, okay, how are we going to design that problem for the people to see it easier? Then, how are we going to build that design into something? So I think it's the whole process of a founder, basically, if I actually have to put it through. And product manager is something that works with a lot of team to enable them to actually build it in the best way possible, and also make sure that they're solving that problem in the best way possible. So I think at the same time, there were a lot of things, a lot of tools that I did not know about before coming to the course. I had that mindset where I knew that products are what I want to build. I think I love the whole picture. I'm not someone who can code all day. I really want to know what problem we are solving and why are we solving that. I just came with that sort of a mindset here, knew a few tools. But at the same time, I think in the last 6 months, from designing something on Figma to technical tools, Google Analytics, data tools, and everything. I think to how to build dashboards and something. I think I've learned all of these tools, which actually helped me become a better product manager. And I think the transition hasn't really been tough. I think you obviously have to be hardworking. I think you have to attend all the sessions. You have to be hardworking. But I think if you are doing that, and if you're also thinking about that, apart from just attending the lectures, I think that's enough. And
So would you agree if I said that just getting a certification is not enough for you to become a product manager, right?
not
Obviously,
at all.
for you to have the right thought process,
Yeah.
firstly, think in the right way, and then also be willing to put in the efforts to actually
Uh-huh.
being able to identify the issue.
Yeah,
Okay.
for sure.
Mhm.
I think certificate's not enough. I think if by the certificate you even get to an interview, I think then you have to talk about what you know in an
Right.
interview. I think if you don't talk about that, you will just get caught. So I think you need to know what you're talking about, and a certificate can still help it solve to an extent, but not just till the first round of your interview. That's it. That is it.
Then obviously, I think interviews are a major, part of getting into a product role because
Yeah.
eventually, as you mentioned, you're playing a role of a founder somewhere. So I'm
Hmm.
sure the companies are also going to grill you. And I do
Yeah,
see
for
that there
sure.
is a question from Vancha who's actually asking that can you share how you cracked Zomato's interview and any tips you'd like to pass on? Okay, so let's wait for the questions for a bit. I think we will be getting to that sooner. Okay, now if we talk about the product space altogether, right, and how it's sort of evolving over the next decade, from your point right now, how do you see it evolving?
I think first of all, I think everything is a product. Okay. And everything is a product in some way, obviously. Whatever we're using, that's solving something for us
Mhm.
in some way. But I think now product is something that is the future for sure, because marketing and everything that's kind of reaching a saturation according to the mod. Like given the mediums that we have at this moment, Instagram, influencer marketing, SEOs, billboards, and everything. I think there is so much crowd in there that people in productive now legit. There's a term called product-led growth, which is growing through product thought, uh, growing through product basically. So I think I believe that that is eventually going to take over. And if you look at an example like Slack at this moment, I
Mhm.
think that's a great example of how product-led growth also basically helps. And I think to give people a better context, so I think product-led growth may what happens is that you get some sort of features of a product to use for free, so that you can actually get a hold of the
Mhm.
value that the product wants to give, and then you can make a conscious decision as to if you want to use that product or not.
Mhm.
Okay. And I think the best part of this is that if you crack it right, if the value is correct for you, and then you buy that, I think you'll never go back. You'll be a loyal customer of that product.
Mhm.
But I think with the marketing that we do right now, I think you love an influencer, let's say. They talk about a product in the best way possible. But
Mhm.
the product actually does not give you that value.
Value,
I think
correct.
you'll never go back to that again. So I think I personally see product-led growth creating a huge impact in the future. And I think,
Mhm.
yeah, I think that's what I really believe in.
Okay, so I think I can give some examples as well. Spotify would be one of them,
Yeah,
definitely. Like
absolutely.
you allowed to
Yeah,
use the service, but they don't give you the all the
yeah.
benefits unless you subscribe. YouTube also did the same thing, and I think so many apps earlier that were completely free are now also offering a premium version for a charge. And I think it's fair also because here the consumer is getting
Hmm.
some benefit out of it, and only if he feels that it's going to add value, then he goes ahead and pays for the subscription. So I think yeah, that's a valid point, and over the year it's really changed a lot, right? I mean, you had
Yeah.
basically tangible products, then digital products came in, and in today's time, I think there's product for every single thing. For instance, even for organizations internally to manage their own processes, they create their own products. So you could be a product manager, managing a product that is the company selling outside to the market, or it could be a product that they've developed to be used internally as well. In fact, MU also does a lot of this. Like we keep creating, tools for ourselves to make it
Yeah.
easier. But yeah, I think that's a great
Also, I think
example.
I would also like to mention one thing to the people here. So a lot of people who are not into product right now, they think so. I'll take an example and explain that maybe. So they sometimes think that okay, Instagram is one product, and there are a few managers who are solving the whole of Instagram at one moment. But I think that's not true. So there, for the smallest of the features, there are product managers working
Probably
on
reels,
those smallest
stories.
features.
Hmm.
Exactly. So I think this is a myth, and I see a lot of people believing that myth, which is absolutely not true. I think you don't have to build everything at once. There are different people working on different sorts of things, and if you look at big companies, there are like hundreds of product managers, and somewhere to thousands of product managers also.
Hmm.
So I
Hmm.
think that is just one myth that I just want to clear.
Hmm. So yeah, I mean, absolutely, there are a lot of roles, and again, it's not just that Instagram has one product manager, as you
Yeah,
mentioned. There would be at least 100, 200 product managers for each part of their product, and
yeah,
again, it's more focused, right? You want to focus on whether that feature is actually solving the problem or not. Okay, great. Now, personally, from your end, if we talk about the tech part, right? So obviously, you being a computer science engineer, I'm assuming that coding, these things are something that you've already worked on before as well. But according to you, what are the major tools that you are using today? Or let's say even with your role in Zomato?
Now I don't code anymore, okay, if I'm being very honest with you. And so now I think my most major tools that I actually use, one, Figma for wireframing and designing everything.
Mhm.
And then there are testing tools and everything. Then there's Google Analytics, there's Tableau to actually look at data dashboards and everything.
Mhm.
I think these are the tools that I use. I'm not a hardcore coder anymore. I think I've always been someone who loves the whole picture and not just code on something that's
Mhm.
given to me. So yeah, a lot of different kinds of tools become a part of your life when you become a product manager, and I think I absolutely enjoy it. So no proper coding tools that I'm using right now, if I'm being honest.
Okay, so you would say that it's not necessary for you to come from a tech background, no coding to become a product manager. And I think it's more about being able to just manage the entire team, right? Like you would have your
Yeah.
separate tech team, you would have your separate design team, and as a product manager, your role is more to bring them all together and towards the same goal.
Yeah, but I think you need to have an understanding of what you are doing. So
Mhm.
let's say as a product manager, if I've written a PRD for a certain feature, I mean, I can't just go to someone and tell them, okay, just do this. I mean, a product manager is someone who's the gyani. I don't know what's the right word of it. I mean, you need to have all the answers. Like people are going to come to you with like all sorts of questions, I think. And a product manager is something who just has all the answers, and
He
that
has
is
to know about.
has to know about everything. And then I think you have to be the enabler. You have to, because you work with design, you work with marketing, you work with tech, you work with all the other teams. I think you have to connect all the ends and you have to put them together and move as one. So I think,
Mhm.
yeah, it's not necessary for a product manager to be from tech. That's, I mean, coming back to that point.
Right. So I think it would be more about you knowing enough tech so that you can understand the limitations of your
Yeah,
team.
100%, 100%. You can't just throw things around for sure. Right? Yeah.
Okay, so fair enough. So for all of you who are probably coming from a non-tech background, here's an advice from a product manager of Zomato, I would say. Okay, now obviously in products, right? Your portfolio is something that is one of the major, things that any company would look at. Or, whenever someone's hiring, they would always want to see that what kind of products or projects you've dealt with or led in the past. Now, in your case, according to you, how important is a portfolio for a product manager? And why, you built yours on a personal website. Okay, so tell us the thought behind it that, why you chose it to do over a website than to, create a document or so.
I think there are a lot of reasons actually, if I'm being honest with you. And at the same time, your portfolio is your story. It's something that you own. And when you are sending a resume to someone, I think it can be your story, but it's so textual, and a recruiter gets hundreds of resumes every single day.
Mhm.
And for you to create that sort of an impact by just looking at a piece of paper, I think that gets a little difficult. Sometimes, even if you are amazing, even if you've done a crazy work, sometimes that would get missed by any chance. But I think product portfolio for me solved that. I think it was on top of my resume also. The person could directly go skip the since attention, after looking at success of TikToks and Instagrams, also we know that our attention span is also getting low. So at the
Mhm.
same time, I think I wanted to make it very visual for the people to just come in, see everything. There's text also on about portfolio. There's pictures also. So whatever you want to look at that. I've given my story, my own way to you, because I think companies hire you for who you are, and at the same time, a CV cannot be 100% reflection of who you are.
Mhm.
So to fulfill the remaining gaps, I think a product portfolio is super important.
Mhm.
And at the same time, during my first round of interview, and during actually my all rounds of interviews, I think my product portfolio was something that was looked by every single person there, and most of the questions that also came to me were from the portfolio. So at
Mhm.
least from a personal standpoint, it was super helpful for me.
Mhm. So for all of you who are asking that if you can give us tips of getting into product roles without prior experience, Ushasi is the one who's asked it. So I think definitely the having a product portfolio is definitely one of them. Okay, speaking of which, like how much of the projects that you worked on in the program, right? How much of that have you also put up on your portfolio?
I mean, everything's there, to be honest. So the two startup weekends that I worked on, like two major projects that I built, and I think the main so basically there's no textual exam that happens here. So I think the most important thing that's also in our grade, that's our BYOP, that is build your own product. Okay, so I think everything's there, and that actually helps a lot because in the last 6 months there, I've worked on various categories of things. So I've worked on Web3, I've worked on content, the whole content space, I've worked on the health tech space. I've done a lot of tear downs also. So I think right now I'm not adding my tear downs on my portfolio, but at the same time, when a recruiter or anyone sees that this person has worked in so many domains, has this person understands things. So if anything new comes in, they know that this person
This
will
can adapt
understand
and
that thing that is coming on, and
Mhm.
this person will be ready to get out of their own biases and zones and build something. I think I think that really helps, and I think everything's on my portfolio. I think I send the link also. Someone was asking me for the link, so I think that's in the chat if you want to look at the portfolio.
Okay, so if anyone wants to have a look at it, Pavitra has been kind enough to share it. And I think also, see, I think getting into Web3, that's something a lot of companies would be looking forward to because even in India, a lot of even companies like, let's say, Farm Fresh, although they're not their product isn't digital. I mean, they just have an app and they deliver, right? But they're also wanting to get into Web3 because they also want to ensure that the entire process from the time when let's say, the milk is, extracted and then it gets bottled and it gets delivered to your house. If you put something like that on a blockchain, right, it just makes it more trustworthy or,
Yeah, 100%.
transparent.
Yeah. I
Okay,
think
so great.
Web3, if you actually deep dive into Web3, I think there are a lot of amazing use cases that it also has. That so before my startup weekend, I used to think that okay, Web3 is gonna come and go, being
Mhm.
very honest. But I think after understanding it pretty well, I think there are some use cases that are just that is just mind-boggling. And I'm also hoping for some great things to happen there.
All right. So you've already had that experience now. Now coming back to your portfolio, right? And on your website also, you've mentioned that you're committed to creating high impact products. Okay. So what impact do you think you've created while being in the product space?
If I'm being very honest with you, I don't think I've created like an extraordinary impact there. But with the opportunities that I've gotten with, you know, the thing projects that I've worked on. I'll take Okidesert as an example. Okay, the app that you're building. I think when I say impact, I don't mean solving the biggest problem for the customer. When I say impact, I think solving some sort of a problem that would make the customer and me both satisfied. So that is what is impact for me. And yeah, I mean, I don't have an answer to that right now because I'm kind of modest also here, and there's nothing on top of my head right now. But when I say that, I think I'm someone who is very passionate about whatever I'm doing, and I think I love being customer obsessed. And in the last 4.5 years, and especially after coming to the course, I think it has helped me get rid of all the biases that I have. And when I look at people, when I'm talking to people, I think the whole perspective has kind of changed. So now that I've written it there, I think I still have a long way to go and prove it.
Uh-huh.
And I think in the next 3, 4, 5 years, I'm going to be there. I think I'm going to come back and talk to you again, and then I'm going to answer this
Okay, okay,
in
just
a better
share
sort
that
of way.
these are the
Yeah.
things that I have
Yeah.
changed, and this is the impact I've created. So definitely, you've created an impact for us. I mean, as an institution, we're very proud that you've gotten into Zomato, and it's not a basic CTC. I would say what you've got as a package is something that even a lot of product managers with experience are not able to get. And we're really actually proud. And I think you also had a podcast as well that you'll be that will be releasing soon. Okay, now coming back to the product management bootcamp with Masters Union. Before that, like, if you can give us a gist of what your process with Zomato was like. There are a lot of questions that are actually
Yeah.
coming in for the same. So, you can talk about what your prep looked like. Was the mentors or the masters over here, did they help you also prepare for the interviews? How did that, sort of impact in you getting into the role or getting the offer?
Can I take good 5 minutes for this? Like
Yeah,
to
sure, sure.
explain the whole
Absolutely.
thing. I think I would want to tell people about everything that I did because I've actually been getting a lot of queries on this also. So first of all, this is a very personal sort of an observation and a belief, which is that I think don't rely 100% on job portals. And that was one thing that I was very sure about. So in the course, we've done a lot of these projects, a lot of tear downs, a lot of case studies and everything. So one, I had put everything in my portfolio, built my own portfolio. Then I think for me, cold mailing has always worked. And these are the skills that you'll be taught here also. And the placement team will come in and they'll tell you how to actually reach to customers, who to reach to, how to reach to, what to write to them. So I think I still have that list where I actually had written down the name of the companies that I really want to work at, the companies that I believed in. And then there's a tool called Apollo.ai that I downloaded where you can, find out the email IDs or on the person that you want to send your emails to. So I found out those people that I want to send the emails to. I found out their email IDs, and I think Zomato, to be very honest, touchwood, I was lucky there because Zomato was the first place that I applied to also,
Okay.
and I did not apply through a job portal. I sent them a cold mail. I mean, people call it cold mail. I like to call it a warm mail because I think that is when you
There's
put,
enough warmth in it.
yeah, there has to be a lot of warmth in it. Otherwise, you'll never going to get a response.
Mhm.
So in the mail, I talked about why Zomato sounds like an interesting opportunity to me. I talked about why I think I'm the best person for the role that I'm applying for. And yeah, then these three, four things I talked about. And then, so I sent the mail directly to the CEO of Zomato, first of all. I think I'm someone who likes to directly go there and I'm like, okay, सीधा ऊपर से शुरू करते हैं. So I think in the next couple of days, I got a reply from him where he connected me to one of the persons from their team. And in the first round of their interviews, we talked for an hour where we talked about the person that I am, the things that I've done in the past, what are my beliefs, my ethics, how well do I communicate, because that is a very important aspect of a product manager as well. So that happened in the first round. And at the end of the first round, I was given an assignment, which was can't really disclose it completely, but that was a very assignment based on good market research, if I have to be very honest.
Okay.
So, that was the assignment that I got like 3 days to solve it. That was my second round, solved the assignment. They liked the assignment. So then they called me for an interview in their office.
Mhm.
Okay. And I think I absolutely loved what happened next. I spent around 2.5 hours in their office with two of the product managers. And in those 2 hours, I was actually brainstorming with them on a product that they're actually thinking of taking live.
Mhm.
And in those 2 hours, they asked me to be the product manager. Like it was a whole product management simulation going on where, they gave me that, okay, Bob, so this is the problem statement that we're trying to solve. So how would you as a product manager would solve it? I had a whiteboard. On the whiteboard, I was actually solving the problem with them. I was asking all of my questions to them, and then we were getting to something. So this was the third round that happened, and I absolutely enjoyed this round. And matlab, if I'm being very honest, I would honestly give the credit for this whole thing to the boot camp that happened because, as I mentioned before, also, if I had done this 6 months earlier, if they would have asked me the approach to that question, I would probably directly answer that.
Mhm. Mhm.
Okay,
So this
but I
time you
think
kept asking questions and
yeah, this time I legit followed the process and I legit. I mean, one thing that I would think the smart people are not the people who come up with an answers at that particular moment. I think smart people are the people who
ask questions. And
ask questions and come up with the right approach and the right answer. Okay, I mean, I think that is something that actually worked for me there. So I followed the whole process, asked the right questions, came back to the root of it, thought it from its very first sort of a principle, then built it again from there. So I think that was like I absolutely had fun there. And I think if I'm ever going to take an interview in the future now, I think this is the approach that I'm also going to follow where I'm actually going, I mean,
you
if
invite them. Mhm.
yeah, yeah, I'm going to give them the whiteboard and ask them to do like solve the problem there. And then I cleared that round. And the last round was with their CEO himself, where we talked about what I want to do at Zomato. And he had 3, 4 problem statements that he gave me, and he wanted me to tell him what problem statement kind of entices me the most. What is the one thing that I would want to solve it when I come in. So that happened, and the compensation also then was something that was finalized then. And I think yeah, this is the interview process, and yeah, this is how I got in. But I think two, three key takeaways. One was that don't just trust the job portals. Learn how to communicate through a cold mail. Very important. Follow the structure like that'll be taught to you in the like in the whole boot camp, and trust me, abide by it. If that does not work, I mean, come to me. I'll take responsibility for that, because that absolutely works. And communicate well and ask all your questions. I mean, just don't keep anything to yourself. If you're giving an interview, if you have anything here, that has to come out, no matter what. Always has to come.
So,
So, 2, 3 takeaways.
okay, so I think for you, what was also helpful was that when you actually went for that interview, your objective was to actually solve the problem, right? Not to try to
Yeah,
impress them.
it was actually to solve the problem. Yeah,
Your
exactly.
product management instincts,
Yeah.
sort of took over, and I think that's what they probably also appreciated a lot.
Uh-huh.
But yeah, I think you've helped answer a lot of questions for a lot of people, in the same. Okay, so I'm just looking at the chat box. I think we'll come back to the questions in a bit. I think let's just answer all of the questions at once itself. Okay, now, so you explained your process with Zomato. You also talked about, the startup weekend and going through that simulation or going through those teardowns, how it's basically given you the real sense of, how problems are solved in the real world. Now, coming to your career path, right? Now, how are you sort of integrating content creation that you were doing earlier into your role as a product manager and also as a creator and a product manager? Do you have any personal bias regarding what you like doing more? Do you like content more, or do you like, building, developing, or
I
improvising products?
I think I like building and developing. I think over the last 4 years, I think this has, trust me, I've been lucky enough to actually try 3, 4 different things.
Mhm.
And I'm happy that I did that. And I think after being in 3, 4 different fields, I've realized that product is something that I absolutely love doing.
Mhm.
And I mean, that's not even a tough decision for me to make right now. I think it'll always be building something for an audience. So I think that is the first answer. And apart from that, how content creation helped me in product management. So product management is something that is not a product manager is not an individual contributor in a company.
Mhm.
Okay. I mean, they're always working with a lot of people. Okay, you're not someone who just codes and your work is over. You have to work with a lot of different teams, a lot of other people, and you're someone who actually knows the problem the best.
Mhm.
So to communicate them to people, to make sure that everyone's believing in what you want to solve, and at the same time to understand what the problems are and then solving them in the best way possible. I think that is somewhere where content creation has helped me a lot, because as a content creator, you're always also a storyteller. You're always trying to tell a story. You're making content for the people. You're not making content for yourself. You're watching content for yourself. So, when you're making content, you, I think, how to talk to people, what to talk to people about, what would people empathize to, what do people want? I think these questions were pretty much answered for
Mhm.
me there. And I think this is where being a content creator helped me the most in cracking this role. And I think everyone should be a content creator. Even if you don't post a reel every day on Instagram, does not mean that you're not a content creator. A content creator is something who communicates well, who knows how to tell a story, who knows how to make other people believe in what you're solving. And I
Because
think
see, I think as a content person, your perspective is always that, I need to create content that is going to be looked by others, right?
yeah,
And
absolutely,
approach is something that
absolutely.
you follow from the beginning.
Mhm.
Okay, so great. I think your, all that you've shared today has, I think motivated a lot of the audience here also. And there are a lot of questions that are actually, I think that you'll have to answer, and some of them, may, I don't know. I don't know if that is something that should happen here. But let's end this with one last question, which is, what is one question that I skipped that I should have asked you, in this regards?
I mean, I'm happy that you skipped that. What's the compensation was something that I was hoping you do not ask me. So I'm happy that you skipped that.
Okay, great. So that's obviously a personal thing. You guys can reach out to Pavitra for the same. Okay, now let's look at some of the questions that you guys have answered. So I'll look at the Q&A section first, and then we will come to the chat box. Okay, so the first question is from AVO. Avo. He says, what are the top companies in India who hire APMs with over 1 year of work experience or no experience? How about outside of India? So I'm not sure if we can answer this, but probably Pavitra can tell you about the kind of opportunities he had for APMs, whether they required experiences or no?
I think according to the research that I did, because when I was looking for companies and everything, I think everyone hires APMs.
Mhm.
Okay. And at the same time, people, I mean, I don't know. I mean, everyone hires APM, and if you have 1 year of experience and if you want to get into product management and if you know the structure, if you're consumer obsessed, why would anyone not hire you if you
Mhm.
are checking all the boxes that they have? So I think APMs people hire.
So
Also,
obviously, I think for every product that exists, APM has to be there. It would be a role that would be available, equal to, I think, product managers as well. In fact, I think there would be more APM roles than product
yeah,
manager available. Okay, so that question is answered. Another question, what exactly is the task of a product manager? What exactly does she does? So I think this we've already explained. It's
yeah,
more.
we've seen it like a lot of times also.
So I don't think we need to answer that. There's a question from Yash. I'm working into analytics and operations role for the past 3 years. What should I do, know to be a part of product success and product management roles? I'm getting rejected while applying for such roles. How do I prepare for the best? So obviously, portfolio would be one of them, but rest, I would like you to share from your experience, Pavitra.
Yeah, I think since you're into analytics and operations, so if you're applying for a product management role, I think a product management understands the other domains that are involved in the product as well. So doing case studies, tear downs, and I would just say applying for the MU bootcamp, that will absolutely help. And I think, yeah, I mean, you need to know the other parts of it also. And if you already think you do know about it, I mean, how would the recruiter know? Make a portfolio. If you know that if you worked on that internally, also put that somewhere, because a lot of times we think that okay, we know about this, but this is the only experience that we have. So you don't write about it in your portfolio or in your CVs. But at the same time, you know about this, they don't know about this. So you need to make them know about this. And if you don't know about this, then you need to learn that. So that's the only thing.
So make sure that you're putting it all everything you've done out there, right? Then there's a question from Moin who says, I'm a business analyst for 5 years in the insurance domain. Can I pierce through different domains and move towards PM role? And is this master a mandate for it? Okay, this is a certification, just to let you know. How did this bootcamp pave a path for me to shift into product management roles? So I think, see, this is pretty simple, right? Like as Pavitra had mentioned, there's a process, there's a framework you have to understand, and the technicalities of it is what you would be learning in the program. Then additionally, the practical hands-on experiences, or whether it's the projects or the tear downs, I think that is something that allows you to at least get a experience of what it's like, and then also be able to add it to your portfolio. I think that's an important part. Would you agree to the same?
Absolutely agree to the same. And I think as if since you've been a business analyst, I think you
Right.
actually have an edge over a lot of things because you've been making data-driven decisions for the last 5 years. You understand data like no one else. And yeah, I think that would also kind of be a USP there when you're applying.
Okay, so a question from Hardik. How was the placement support from MU?
So I'll actually tell them about an instance that happened. So I applied to Zomato through a cold mail myself. All right. After the first round happened, the placement team was always in contact with whatever that was happening, and so there's a person who works in the placement team whose name is Parthiv.
Mhm.
So after the first round, there was an assessment that I was a little confused about. Okay, and I did not know what to do about it. So I called Parthiv and I was like, Parthiv, hey, this is what I've got, and I think I need some help with that. And I'm telling you, within 10 minutes, he sent me 5 resources, and the guy checked on me every single day when I was working on my assignment. At the same time, our mentors, like I took help from a couple of mentors also. I remember working with one of my mentors till 11:30, 12 in the night, where he was helping me work on a problem that I wanted to solve. So I think people want to go outside of the box to help you. I mean, if you keep working hard and keep believing in what you want to achieve eventually. So I mean, I got all the help that I actually could have asked for. And to be honest, more than that also, because I initially expect that, okay, they'll help us get the placements and that'll be it. But how you get in place, if you need help with any assignment or anything, if, there's something that they might have worked on earlier, they would always help you with that. And I think, I mean, I
It's more about
absolutely love
getting
my
the right kind of support to prepare yourself for any such kind of opportunity, right? And I think, see, even if let's say you mentioned about the mentors, okay, from your end also, I would like to know that for you, which was the mentor or the master that's stood out the most, or that you feel was able to inculcate the motivation within.
There were actually four people, okay? So I think Ayush Mittal is one.
Mhm.
There's Shivam Maheshwari. There's Shailendra sir, and then there's Ashank. So I think
Shank is obviously, I think
yeah,
his
yeah,
sessions are one of the highest rated.
yeah. I think these four people they've helped me a lot, and I think I am not saying the other mentors they were not great. They were also actually amazing, but I think the ones that stood out for me were these four mentors. And at the same time, if you talk about how did they help you in preparation, so we have like in the terms that we have, in the four terms that we have, I think in every term we had placement boot camps that were happening where we were actually also, we were also learning what kind of product questions are asked, how to solve them, human questions, behavioral questions, and everything. I think everything's always getting taken care of. So our term, I mean, I'm not sure how the terms for the next cohort are getting divided, but for our cohort, the first term was a design term. So the placement bootcamp covered all sorts of design questions that could be there. Placement two had technical product management and stuff like that also. So I think absolutely helps. And I think and if there's something that you need help with still, reach out to the student experiences team. They'll actually get something arranged for you also. So I think that is one thing that I'm honestly grateful for, because there were sometimes a few things that we also wanted to learn apart from what you were taught. And I think in the turnaround time with those things that was super quick.
Okay, so obviously, like we focus a lot on the preparation part as well. As an institution where you have so many mock interviews with the masters as well.
Yeah,
So I'm sure
absolutely. Yeah.
that support is what I think is more essential, right, than to just get directly placed. I think that never happens, right? It's more
Yeah.
about your entire learning and development through the program that eventually makes you capable enough to crack any such roles. There's a question: did you learn any tools during the course? Being from a marketing background, I need to learn some tools. I actually got into a PM role. Okay, so tools, I think we've already mentioned. Figma is one
Yeah.
of them. Then there are a lot of other tools also, but as such, there's no specific tool that is required. It's more of a, how you use them, right? And I think some people prefer, let's say, Balsamiq over Figma. Some people prefer Figma. So I think that goes hand in hand. In the program, though, what were the tools that were covered?
A lot of tools were covered. I think Figma, Miro, Balsamiq, Google Analytics, ClickUp, and I can't even remember. There were so many tools that were covered. I think there's a thing we have Tooly Wednesdays right now. Where on Wednesdays we actually do something live with the mentor on that particular tool, and it's not just mentors doing it. Just sitting and listening. We're actually doing it. So I think we learn the right way.
Mhm.
And yeah, I mean, a lot of tools are actually going to be taught to you. And if there's any tool, I would honestly recommend this to and suggest this to anyone who's actually listening right now, that if there's any tool that you think is not written in the curriculum that you're looking at right now, ask for it. That'll be arranged. I think that is one thing that I've at least realized. And I mean, just communicate with everyone and they'll get it arranged for you. That's what I'll say.
Correct. So we've done that with a lot of other cohorts as well. Like even for the finance program that we offer, some of these students felt that they wanted to learn additional tools. Like for example,
Yeah.
Tally is something we've also revamped in the curriculum now. But I mean, see, as an institution, also we are more of a, I think, community, right, where it's all open. Like as a student, you can always give us feedback. We take it. We try to improve, and I think that's how a masters union generally is. There's a question from Sri Vidya who says, I'm a SEO manager and work closely in product management. So I know what they do and I can handle the role. How do I convince the management that I want to transition into a product role?
Oh, okay. This is a tough one. And but at the same time, I think I would really want to talk to this person, first of all, know what are the conversation that they've had with them already to actually understand where they're making the flaw better. And at the same time, I think that thing always remains like I mentioned before, that if you think that you know something, I think you have to be open about it. And more than being vocal, I think it's your action that kind of speaks. So if you're actually working with them every single day, you obviously know what the problem is that they're solving. So if you can, maybe in a product manager sort of a way, show them what you've done instead of saying them what you can do. I think that could maybe help you a little more.
Definitely. So again, I think this is the same example that happened with your interview with Zomato. Where
Mm.
you had to sort of show them what you can do.
Yeah.
There's one question: describe the journey from UI UX to product. I don't think this is very relevant, but UI UX was a course that you did, right? You never worked full
I
time.
was an intern, so I told them about it. So when I was in college, I really wanted to start something on my own, and I had an idea also. And I was doing tech. I did not know how to design anything, so I did a UI UX internship there. I think that is what they were answering. I never wanted to become a UI UX designer myself.
So I think that question is answered. Shubham Daima asks, if a non-tech guy is planning to enter in product management, what do you think? How much time will it take for him to prepare from scratch?
It depends. It's very subjective, all right.
How
I
much
can't.
time are you willing to give? Is it
Yeah, exactly. And I'm not even kidding. You can do it in a month, and you can take 10 years to do that also. It's totally up to you. And at the same time, I think the course actually helps, man. And I mean, I'm not going to say a lot about this, but it's very subjective, and I think it's how much hard work you're ready to put into what you're learning. But it's not. I mean, a lot of people think that management is very technical. You're coding also doing all of it. It's not like that.
Okay, and there's a question: how is product roadmap planned in Zomato? I think this is confidential. He will not be able to discuss,
I can't answer
unfortunately.
that.
What are the tools you use on a day-to-day basis? I think this we've already discussed. Can you please explain what does product portfolio should include? So basically, all your projects, all the problems you've resolved, basically all that, right? Anything you would like to add here?
I think that's it. But I think whenever you're making a product portfolio, remember that it's your story, and don't just write anything and everything there. So let's say on top of it, it's your picture, and then you're like putting your projects, and then randomly don't put it. Think of it as a story, because when a person's reading it, when they're scrolling in a certain way. They can't scroll from bottom up, right? So I think whatever Sharoz has mentioned, apart from that, make sure that it is structured in some way.
Okay, and how was the feedback part though? Because I'm sure you would have shared your portfolios with the masters as well, with the placements
Uh,
team.
yeah,
Did the
yeah.
feedback, help you, or did you actually make changes based on that feedback?
I did a lot of. So I'll tell you one very interesting thing that happened. So I came for a startup weekend, and I reached a little early. Like I reached there around 10:30, and the other members in my team, they were coming at 2. So from 11 to 2, I actually finished my first out of my portfolio. And
Okay.
then, I sat with the mentors, I sat with Jigyasa from the Student Experiences team also. And yeah, I incorporated those feedbacks in the next 2-3 days, and then it was ready to go live.
In what ratio does one need to have tech understanding and business knowledge for a PM role? 40-60 or 50-50 or 60-40? How would you
I
divide
mean, there's no ratio. I mean, it always depends on the kind of a problem that you're actually working on. So,
that?
okay, sometimes you're solving, let's say, revenue or pricing or stuff like that. Sometimes you're legit technically building an internal tool or an internal backend tool. There you would not need a lot of business knowledge, right? So I think it actually depends. But yes, you don't need to be an expert in both the things. You need to be someone who understands both the things well. And I don't think there's any ratio that justifies the whole product management thing. I mean, the problem that you're solving and what that problem requires is basically like what decides the ratio.
Okay, so I think that's clear to you. San is asking, I'm coming from a visual communication background. Right now, I'm studying design and innovation from ISDI Mumbai, Indian School of Design Innovation, I think. I've worked on a couple of academic projects on product, UI UX, put them on portfolio, how to approach companies at this moment. So I think if you're coming from a UI UX background also, it is sort of relevant because I'm assuming that for a product manager also, you would have a UI UX team under you, right? Probably you can take up a certification. I think that's what I can recommend, that you can learn the right kind of skill sets or the right framework to become a product manager, and eventually I don't think it should be much of a challenge for you to get into it. Would you agree, Pavitra? For
Yeah, I
some.
think I would absolutely agree with that. And I think, Sayan, if you really are stuck somewhere, reach out to me on LinkedIn or something. I'll be happy to help you with whatever you want.
Careful with that one, Pavitra. You might get too many
Oh,
messages on LinkedIn.
I do not say that.
Okay, so yeah, that's there. I'm withdrawing a CTC of 36 lakhs. Do you think I can bet? Well, I think, Pavitra, this one will be an interesting one for you. So Abhinav asks that I'm already withdrawing a CTC of 36 lakhs per annum as a developer. Do you think I can get a better package if I switch to a PM role? I
I
have
mean,
invested in
this is
product.
funny also. I mean, at the same time, I would say, first of all, how much is fixed? Okay. And I think, secondly, if you're earning 36, so first of all, you don't want to stay at 36 all your life, okay? You want to do better. One more skill, obviously, you want more, right? So I think you keep adding something to your kitty, you keep earning more. And I mean, you want to be greedy also sometimes. You have to run a house in the future.
So I think 36 is fair, and product anyways, I think, as a stakeholder, you're very important to the company. So depends on his skills again. I don't think you should get less for than what you're already getting currently. How can I get into a PM role directly? So do you think as a computer science engineer, one can get into a PM role directly? Or do you think it's more important that they do take up a certification like this one?
Certification, I think I would recommend a certification because if they think that they would directly go into a PM role, it's one in 10,000 kind of a possibility that you're anyway looking at. But I think if you're doing a certification and learning about all the aspects of a product, I think then that becomes 1 in 30, 1 in 40. I mean, that is something that I would personally say because a lot of us think that when we are in college, we understand what happens in the industry, but considering the colleges that we have in India and the education system that we all come out from, we don't necessarily get taught what happened in the industry. And at the same time, getting a certification helps showcase that in the best way possible. So I think I would recommend a certificate here.
Okay, I think same would apply for the next question, which is being a fresher from IT background. Is it possible for me to pursue, this course? So course, definitely you can consider it. You'll have to clear the evaluation to get through. But yeah, otherwise, we are always looking for people from IT or tech backgrounds. I think that's the first preference for any product role or company.
How difficult it is for working professional to manage both work and classes. It's possible. I mean, I also did it like that. I mean, we did not leave our jobs to do this.
Okay, there's one interesting question. Is Zomato hiring for APMs?
Yeah, I think yeah, we are, but at the same time, don't just reach out to me now and ask send me your CV. I mean, but yeah, they are. I just have a weird philosophy. I think if you're actually great at something, people make a spot for you also sometimes.
Mhm.
So
I
yeah,
think with MU we see that a lot. There were so many
uh,
roles that companies actually didn't have that our students got them to
yeah,
create. Uh, you
exactly.
know,
Uh-huh.
so I mean, it's all about your intent, your the hard work that you put in, right? And as Pavitra said, also for him, it started with a cold email. So imagine his journey was completely organic, and I think it just says right that if you're actually interested in doing something, if you put in the right efforts, you can get through it.
What AI tool did Pavitra use for fetching emails? It's Apollo.ai.
Okay, so yeah, Apollo.ai.
Yeah.
Okay, so
How
that's
much?
another help from Pavitra's side.
Okay, I mean, I don't see any other questions for me. I'll take a leave now. And thank you so much for this. I absolutely enjoyed doing this session with you. And yeah, if there's any other question that you have, hit me up on LinkedIn. I'll only reply to the relevant ones.
Thank you so much, Pavitra. It was a real
Thank you so much, Arun.
pleasure having you here, and we wish you all the best for any of the future endeavors. And yeah, that's all from my end. I hope you can have a great night and rest well today. It's been really tiring for you.
Thank you. Thank you so much. Thank you so much, everyone, for joining also. Thank you.